There is a moment in every gardener's life that stays with them. It is not always a grand success like a prize-winning marrow or a perfect rose. Often, it is something much quieter. It is the moment you notice a real, tangible change in the health of your plants. For me, one such moment came when I looked at a row of lettuces that had previously struggled. They were suddenly vibrant, their leaves a deeper green, their hearts full and crisp. The change was not just visible. You could almost feel the energy coming from them. This was not the result of some expensive chemical feed, but something much humbler, rooted in ancient wisdom and modern understanding. This transformation was powered by the simple, yet potent magic of rice-infused compost. The secret to this newfound vigor lay not in a quick-fix fertilizer, but in nurturing the very soul of the garden, the soil itself. We often forget that healthy plants are merely the symptom of a healthy living soil beneath our feet. A soil teeming with billions of microscopic allies, bacteria, fungi, and other organisms working tirelessly to break down organic matter and make nutrients available. The lettuces were not just growing, they were thriving because their roots were now tapping into a rich bioactive ecosystem. This is the fundamental principle we must grasp. We are not just gardeners of plants, we are custodians of the soil, and our primary job is to keep it alive and well. This journey begins with something many of us discard without a second thought: the water used to rinse rice. It may seem like nothing, but this cloudy liquid is a powerhouse of starch and trace minerals. When introduced to a compost heap, it acts like a starter pistol for a race. It awakens the dormant microbial life, providing an easily digestible feast that fuels a population explosion. This is the key. You're not feeding your plants directly with rice water. Instead, you are supercharging the microscopic workforce that will, in turn, create the most perfect, nutrient-rich plant food imaginable. It is an indirect but profoundly effective method of cultivation. Understanding this process changes your entire perspective on gardening. It shifts the focus from feeding the plant to feeding the soil that supports it. This is a more sustainable, more resilient, and ultimately more rewarding way to grow. The visible burst of life in those lettuces was simply the outward expression of an invisible revolution happening below the surface. A revolution that you can start in your own garden with nothing more than a bit of old compost and the starchy water from your evening meal. It is a simple technique, but one that connects us to the cyclical nature of life, death, and renewal that defines a truly healthy garden. Let us be clear about one very important point. When you pour a rice water infusion onto your compost, you are not adding a conventional fertilizer. The nutrients in that water are minimal, and not in a form that plant roots can readily absorb. Its true power lies in its carbohydrate content. Think of it as a sugary energy drink for the microscopic life within your compost heap. The starches in the rice water provide a huge immediate source of carbon, which is the primary fuel for beneficial bacteria and fungi. These are the tireless workers that break down tough organic materials like wood chip, leaves, and vegetable peelings into a rich, dark, stable humus. This microbial feast is what turns a good compost into a great one. In a standard compost pile, this decomposition process can be slow and steady. By adding the rice water infusion, you are dramatically accelerating the process. The microbial population multiplies at an exponential rate, creating a bioactive compost. This means it is not just a source of slow-release nutrients, it is a living inoculum that you are adding to your garden beds. When you spread this compost, you are introducing a thriving army of beneficial microbes that will continue their work in the soil, unlocking existing nutrients and improving its structure for months and even years to come. Think of raw, unactivated compost as a pantry full of ingredients. The nutrients are there, locked away in complex organic molecules, but they are not ready to be served. The rice water infusion acts as the chef. It wakes up the microbial workforce, which then cooks down those raw ingredients into a 5-star meal that your plants can easily digest. This is why bioactive compost is so much more effective than raw compost or even many synthetic fertilizers. It provides nutrients in a bioavailable form, precisely when the plant needs them, thanks to the symbiotic relationship between the roots and the surrounding microbial life. This process also enhances the diversity of life in your soil. A healthy soil is not dominated by one or two types of bacteria. It is a complex web of thousands of different species, each with a specific role to play. The simple carbohydrates from the rice water support a broad spectrum of these organisms, helping to build a more resilient and balanced soil ecosystem. This diversity helps to suppress soil-borne diseases, improve water retention, and enhance aeration. So you are not just feeding your plants for this season. You are fundamentally improving the long-term health and fertility of your garden soil with every application. Creating this potent infusion is remarkably simple and, crucially, should not involve wasting any food. The goal is to capture the starchy residue, not the rice grains themselves. The most straightforward method is to use the water from rinsing your rice before cooking. Whether you use white, brown, or any other type of rice, the first and second rinses will produce a cloudy, starch-filled liquid. This is liquid gold for your compost. Simply collect this water in a clean bucket or watering can, instead of letting it run down the drain. It is a zero-waste process that turns a byproduct of your kitchen into a powerful tool for the garden. For a more concentrated brew, you can use a small amount of uncooked rice specifically for this purpose. A good ratio to start with is 1 cup of any cheap plain rice to about 4 to 5 liters of water. Place the rice in a large bucket and add the water. Now, this is the important part. Use your hands to vigorously swill and knead the rice in the water for a few minutes. You will see the water turn milky white as the starches are released. Once the water is thoroughly opaque, you can strain it off, leaving the rice behind. You can repeat this process once or twice more with the same batch of rice before it is spent. Do not be tempted to cook the rice or let it ferment for too long in an uncontrolled way. A simple fresh infusion is what we are after. Once you have collected your starchy water, it is best used within 24 hours. Letting it sit for days can lead to anaerobic fermentation, which produces sour smells and can encourage the wrong kind of microbes. A fresh brew is alive with simple sugars that are immediately available to the compost organisms. Always use dechlorinated water for this process. If your tap water is chlorinated, simply leave it to stand in an open bucket for 24 hours to allow the chlorine to dissipate before you use it to rinse the rice. To be precise, our target is a solution that is visibly milky but not thick like paste. If using the rinsing method from your cooking, just use what you get. If you're making a dedicated batch, the 1 cup to 5 liters ratio is a reliable starting point. This quantity is perfect for activating a standard wheelbarrow full of compost. The key is consistency. Making this a regular part of your routine, whether daily from cooking or weekly as a dedicated task, ensures you always have a ready supply of this microbial superfood to keep your compost heap and your garden soil thriving throughout the growing season. Now that you have your rice water infusion, it is time to perform the most important step activating your compost. You will need mature, well-rotted compost for this. This is the dark, crumbly, sweet-smelling material that has finished its initial hot decomposition phase. It might seem finished, but it is mostly dormant. Our task is to wake it up. Spread your mature compost out on a tarpaulin or in a clean wheelbarrow. This makes it easier to mix thoroughly and ensures an even application of the infusion. Breaking up any large clumps with a fork or your hands will increase the surface area and allow for better penetration of the liquid. Using a watering can fitted with a fine rose, gently and evenly sprinkle the rice water infusion over the surface of the compost. The goal is to make the compost damp, not waterlogged. Think of the consistency of a wrung-out sponge. As you add the liquid, turn the compost over with a spade or fork to ensure every part of the pile is moistened. A good ratio is approximately 5 liters of your rice water brew for every 50 to 60 liters of compost, roughly the amount held by a standard builder's wheelbarrow. This ratio provides enough moisture and food to kickstart the microbial explosion without creating anaerobic, smelly conditions. Once the compost is evenly dampened, cover the pile. This is a crucial detail. Do not seal it with plastic, as this will cut off oxygen and turn the pile sour. Instead, cover it with a breathable material like old Hessian sacks, a layer of cardboard, or a thick piece of old carpet. This traps moisture and warmth while still allowing air to circulate. Place the activated pile in a shady spot, protected from heavy rain and direct sun. Leave it to rest for a period of at least 1 week, though 2 weeks is even better. During this time, the microbial population will bloom, consuming the starches and transforming the compost into a bioactive powerhouse. After a week or two, you will notice a change in the compost. It might have a slightly different, more earthy and fungal smell. You may even see a network of fine white fungal threads, known as mycelium, running through it. This is a fantastic sign that the activation has been successful. The compost is now alive and ready for use. It is no longer just a soil conditioner. It is a potent living amendment, teeming with beneficial organisms ready to get to work in your garden beds and pots. This simple resting period is what separates standard compost from a truly transformative soil treatment. Applying your newly activated compost is a straightforward affair, but a little precision goes a long way. This material is potent, so you do not need to use it in the same large volumes as raw compost. For established beds, a light top dressing is all that is required. Apply a thin layer, no more than 1 to 2 centimeters thick, around the base of your plants, being careful not to pile it up against their stems. Gently work it into the top few centimeters of soil with a hand fork or your fingers, and then water it in well. This introduces the microbial army directly into the root zone where it can do the most good. For planting new seedlings or potting up plants, this compost is an exceptional addition to your mix. A good rule is to use 1 part activated compost to 4 or 5 parts of your standard potting mix or garden soil. This provides a gentle, slow-release source of nutrients and, more importantly, inoculates the growing medium with vibrant microbial life from the very beginning. This gives young plants a significant head start, helping them to establish strong root systems very quickly. For planting in rows, such as with carrots or beans, you can dig a shallow trench and line it with a centimeter-thick layer of the activated compost before sowing your seeds. The results can appear surprisingly quickly, though this will vary depending on the crop. With fast-growing leafy greens like spinach, rocket, and lettuce, you can often see a noticeable improvement in leaf color and growth rate within just 10 to 14 days. For fruiting plants like tomatoes, courgettes, and beans, the initial change might be more subtle, showing up as stronger stems and healthier foliage. However, the real prize comes later in the season, with a marked increase in the quantity and quality of the fruit. This is because the healthy soil ecosystem supports the plant through its entire life cycle, from initial growth to flowering and fruiting. Compared to raw compost, this activated version is far more efficient. You use less material to achieve a greater biological effect. When measured against synthetic chemical fertilizers, the benefits are even clearer. While chemicals provide a quick, often unsustainable burst of growth, they can damage the delicate soil food web and lead to a dependency cycle. Rice-activated compost, on the other hand, builds soil structure and fertility over time. It is also incredibly cost-effective. You are creating a premium-grade soil amendment from a kitchen byproduct and your own garden compost, saving money on expensive feeds and improving your garden's resilience. One of the most profound benefits of this method is its ability to rejuvenate tired, poor soils. Whether you are working with heavy clay, nutrient-poor sand, or compacted ground on a new plot, the introduction of this living compost works wonders. The microbes get to work immediately, binding sandy particles together to improve water retention and breaking up clay particles to improve drainage and aeration. They also begin to unlock nutrients that may have been chemically locked up and unavailable in the soil for years. This means it is effective across all plant types, from hungry vegetables and fruit trees to delicate ornamentals and robust shrubs. However, there are a few common mistakes that can completely undermine the effectiveness of this technique. The most frequent error is sealing the activating compost pile with non-breathable plastic. This cuts off oxygen, promoting anaerobic decomposition, which creates alcohol and other compounds toxic to plant roots. Always use a breathable cover like hessian or cardboard. Another pitfall is using chlorinated tap water for your infusion, as the chlorine will kill the very microbes you are trying to cultivate. Finally, avoid over-application. More is not better. A thick, undecomposed mulch of this potent material can temporarily lock up nitrogen, so stick to the thin top dressings and recommended mixing ratios. When used correctly, this simple method of activating your compost will deliver consistent, reliable results and strengthen your garden's health year after year. The soil structure will improve, its ability to hold water will increase, reducing your watering duties, and its natural fertility will build season on season. You are moving away from a system of inputs and towards a self-sustaining ecosystem within your own patch. It is a low-cost, scalable approach that works just as well for a few pots on a balcony as it does for a large allotment. The principles remain the same: feed the soil, not the plant. Ultimately, this is about more than just getting bigger vegetables or brighter flowers. It is about fostering a deeper connection with the ground beneath our feet. By transforming a simple kitchen waste product into a source of immense vitality, we are participating in the fundamental cycles of nature. This rice water infusion technique is a testament to the fact that the most powerful solutions in gardening are often the simplest and most elegant. It is a reliable, long-term strategy that builds a legacy of healthy, living soil, the greatest asset any gardener can ever hope to possess.